The UK government is building a national facial recognition network. They've made it mandatory for your phone to scan your private messages before you send them. They've been quietly rolling out digital ID infrastructure across every major public service. And now they've announced that if you want to use a VPN, one of the last tools to protect your privacy, you'll need to verify your identity to do that too. 4 separate announcements, 4 separate headlines. Most people have seen one or two of them. Almost no one is saying out loud is that these aren't 4 separate stories. This is one system and it's almost finished. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for all your support, the likes, the subs. It really does mean the world to me. So if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll have seen me cover most of what I've just described. The Online Safety Act, client-side scanning, digital ID, facial recognition. I've done individual videos on all of them, but today I want to do something different. I want to step back. I want to show you the whole picture. Because when you see these things next to each other, when you understand what they are individually and how they connect, the picture that emerges is something most people in this country have no idea is being built. So let's get into it. So let's go through them one by one. I'm going to keep this tight. So if you want to deep dive on any of these individual conversation pieces, I've linked the relevant episodes below. So System 1, facial recognition. The UK Home Office launched a formal consultation in December last year to create a national facial recognition framework. The plan is basically to connect police databases across the entire country into a single network and create a dedicated regulator for biometric technology. Testing of the national system is expected to begin later this year. New laws governing it are expected in approximately 2 years. But here's the thing about that consultation. While it was open, while members of the public were still submitting their views on whether this technology should be used, the vans were already in the streets. The decision had already been made. The consultation wasn't asking whether to do this. It was providing cover for something that was already happening. South Wales Police have been running live facial recognition since 2017. In that time, across more than 150 deployments, the technology has cost the force over 3.5 million and produced 93 arrests. Those are the force's own published figures. Now, I'm not here to tell you 93 arrests is nothing, but I want you to hold that number in your head because the police will tell you this is a targeted tool. It works off a watch list of wanted individuals, not a, dragnet. And that's true for now. But here's the question that matters. When you connect the system to everything else I'm about to describe, who decides who's on that watch list? Recently, the government announced the largest ever rollout of live facial recognition in UK history. 10 new vans, 7 police forces. The Home Office spent 12.6 million on the technology. And a government minister called it, I'm not making this up by the way, the biggest breakthrough for catching criminals since DNA matching. That's System 1. System 2, client-side scanning. The Online Safety Act has now created legal obligations that can be used to require platforms to scan your private messages and photos on your device before they've been sent. That's not a future threat, that's active law. The government calls it identifying illegal content. What it actually means is your phone becomes a surveillance endpoint. Your messages are checked before they leave your device, not by the person you're sending them to, by a system you have no visibility into, governed by rules that can change. I covered this in depth in a previous episode and I'll pop the link below. But for now, just know System 2 is live. System 3, digital ID. The Data Use and Access Act, now law, is the legislative foundation for a national digital identity infrastructure. One Login, the government's own digital identity system, already has tens of millions of users accessing public services. The plan is to extend it across banking, healthcare, and obviously beyond. Voluntary, they say, but when your bank, your GP, your employer, and every other government service requires it, voluntary stops meaning what you think it means. System 3 is being built right now. System 4, VPN Age Verification. This one is new. The UK government has now proposed that regulated social media platforms and VPNs require age verification. Think about that for a moment. A VPN is a privacy tool. Its primary function is to protect your data from surveillance, and yet the government is now saying to use one, you'll need to prove who you are. So facial recognition watches your face in public. Client-side scanning reads your messages before you send them. Digital ID connects your identity to every service you use. And now, the tools designed to protect your privacy from all of that, those require identification too. There is nowhere left to go that doesn't require you to identify yourself first. That's the 4 systems. Now here's where it gets really important, because individually, each of these systems is significant, but connected together, they become something different. And the thing that connects them all is AI. The government isn't hiding this. In fact, they've been quite explicit about it. In a now well-documented interview, the then Justice Secretary said, and I'm paraphrasing closely here, that there's a big opportunity to harness the power of AI and technology to get ahead of criminals, to predict behaviour, to act before a crime has been committed. And the government has announced a predictive policing prototype. £4 million due to launch imminently. The system will pull together data from police, councils and social services, criminal records, previous incident locations and behavioural patterns of known offenders, and use it to predict where crime will happen and who's likely to commit it. Let that sit for a second. Facial recognition can match your face to your identity. Digital ID connects that identity to your health records, your finances, your service history. Client-side scanning can read your communications, and the predictive policing system can take all of that and try to work out what you're going to do next. This isn't 3 or 4 separate tools. When you connect them with an AI layer, this is a single intelligence system with multiple inputs. Your face, your identity, your messages, your movement, your behavior, all feeding into something that's trying to stay one step ahead of you. Now, here's the part I think is genuinely underappreciated. You don't have to be doing anything wrong for this to matter. The panopticon, the concept of constant observation, doesn't control people by catching criminals. It controls people because people change how they behave when they know they might be watched. You self-censor. You don't ask certain questions. You don't make certain associations. You stay in line, not because someone forced you, but because the infrastructure creates the incentive. That's what's being built. Not just a crime-fighting tool, a compliance architecture. Now, I want to address something I know some people will be thinking. Isn't this alarmist? Aren't there safeguards? Is there oversight? And look, I completely understand that instinct. I'm not here to be alarmist. I'm here to be accurate. So let's look at the actual pattern of how this has been built. Take the facial recognition consultation. It ran while the vans were already deployed. While the public was still submitting responses about whether this technology should exist on British streets, the technology was already on British streets. The consultation wasn't asking whether to do this. It was providing legal cover for something that had already been decided. Laws are expected in approximately 2 years. The infrastructure exists now. That's not oversight. That's retrospective legitimization. And if you think the UK is an outlier here, it's not. Other countries are going the other direction, of course. Several US cities have banned facial recognition outright. The EU has been debating strict limits under the AI Act. The UK has explicitly chosen to standardise, expand and connect these systems into a national framework. That choice has been made. The question is whether enough people understand that it was made. And recently, because this is still unfolding, a company called ID Merit, an AI-powered identity verification firm, was found to have left more than 1 billion sensitive records sitting unsecured on the public internet. Full names, addresses, national IDs, phone numbers, dates of birth, 26 countries, exposed. Researchers who found it described it as a single point of catastrophic failure. And that phrase is worth remembering, because every centralized database is a target, and the bigger and more comprehensive it is, the more catastrophic the breach when it happens. The UK government wants to build a national facial recognition network, a national digital ID system, a predictive policing database pulling together criminal records, council data, and social services. These are enormous centralized repositories of biometric and personal data. And the ID Merit breach is not a lesson about one bad company. It is a structural lesson about what centralized identity infrastructure looks like when it fails. You can't promise security on a system like this. You can only promise that a breach would be historic. So here's where I want to leave it, because I'm not here just to catalogue what's been built. I want to make a structural argument. A standard political response to, all of this, trust us, we'll put safeguards in place. We'll have an independent regulator, all that usual fluff. We'll write better laws. And maybe the people saying that are sincere. But sincerity is not the point. The point is, once you build infrastructure at this scale, it doesn't matter who's in charge. The infrastructure does what it's designed to do. A national facial recognition network doesn't become safe when the right government isn't running it. A predictive policing system built on social services data doesn't become proportionate when there's an oversight body. A database with 1 billion identity records doesn't become secure because someone promised it would be. This is the same structural argument that runs through everything I cover on this channel. You cannot fix a trust-based system by asking people to be more trustworthy. You fix it by changing the architecture so that trust isn't required in the first place. Bitcoin didn't fix money by making banks more honest. It made banks optional by changing the underlying architecture. The question for surveillance is the same one, not can we trust the people running this, but should we be building systems that require that much trust at all? And this is exactly why I'm building Whisper AI, not because one app solves surveillance, it doesn't, but because the principles matter. Your intelligence doesn't have to live on someone else's infrastructure, and that means someone else's computer. Your data doesn't have to pass through a system you can't audit. The architecture of sovereignty is available right now, on device, open source, verifiable. That's not a workaround. That's the point. The UK surveillance infrastructure is almost finished. Before the laws catch up, before the regulators are appointed, before the consultations close, the architecture will already exist. The keys will already exist. The question is who inherits it. So if you've been following the series, you've seen the pieces being assembled. The Online Safety Act, digital ID, facial recognition, client-side scanning, all in earlier episodes. I went deep into each one of these. This was the episode where I wanted to show you what they look like from the outside, as a system, as a completed picture. And if this is the kind of thing you want to follow as it develops, obviously subscribe. I really appreciate it. Because what's coming in the next few episodes connects this directly to AI, to the question of who controls intelligence, and to what the alternative actually looks like. So for now, stay safe, stay sovereign, and of course, stay free. Take care, guys.